Best Book Bits podcast brings you Trevor Lynch, author of the book, Yes, You Freakin' Can, Be Better Than You Thought Possible When You Most Need It. Trevor, thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you, Michael. Great to join you here.
No problem. Now, for my audience who don't know much about yourself, where's the accent from and whereabouts are you living at the moment?
Good question. So I'm actually Irish. I moved to France in 2001, so it's about 20 years ago. So the accent is mixed, I would say. I live near the Swiss border, so my office is in Basel in Switzerland, so it's a mix. Yeah, well, I'm not sure if you placed my accent, but there you go. I still kept a trace of the Irish brogue, I would say.
Now, tell me your book, Yes, You Freakin' Can. You got a copy of it there if you want to hold it up. Tell us a little bit about what the book's about and what made you write it.
So the book is about how to be better than you thought possible when you most need to be. So it can be for anything, all right? It can be for a job interview, maybe an important presentation, sports competition, can even be a first date, something that's important for you. And the fact that it's important for you and you kind of feel that the stakes are high, maybe it's out of your comfort zone, then stress kicks in, knocks you out of your zone, you don't show up at your best. And then afterwards you're like, really? I could have done better, or I should have done better. So that's one part of the book. The second angle is on when you go through a difficult challenge in life, okay, and you need to stand back up and keep advancing, build your resilience, figure out what to do in the eye of the storm, and actually even come through it stronger. So again, it's a moment where you need to be at your best, but for a different reason. So it's covering those two angles, if you want, with a few extra bits thrown in.
Now I want to jump. That kicks it off. Now I've read the book; it's a fantastic book from audience. Check it out. You can Google it. Yes, you freaking can. But we'll go into the book and we'll ask some questions and unpack that as well. But jumping straight into it, you talk about being in Las Vegas. Take us back to that moment and what happened looking outside your hotel window in Las Vegas.
Yeah, thank you. So I was in Las Vegas with my two daughters, Alexia and Mallory. They were 18, I think, and 21 at the time. We were sitting in the Bellagio Hotel. I don't know if you know it. It has a view out onto these magnificent fountains that are dancing to the music outside. So we had just toured around Los Angeles, stayed in a friend's place with our family. Really nice vacation. And I had an interview the next day. On the outside, everything was great. I was there with my daughters, beautiful part of the world. And on the inside, there was turmoil, if you want. I had a relationship that went on for a few years that had just ended. My job had disappeared, basically. It was due to restructuring. And on top of that, I had just signed papers to sell my house. And figuring out, okay, how can I stay close to my daughters and not have to move away again? And how can I be at my best going into this job interview where I had this turmoil going on inside? And at that time, I really wanted this job. It was in the same city. It was in Basel, same organization even. And I was trying to figure out, my daughters didn't realize it, but in my mind, there was this storm going on where I had a really hard time focusing. And I was trying to figure out, okay, so how can I show up at my best for this interview tomorrow? And I guess the stress of it all set me back so much that I wasn't even thinking about what do I normally do. So when I woke up that morning, got up really early, I thought, you know what? Why did you not think of this before? do the mental prep that you always do for something that's, an important event coming up. So I took some time, did some visualization exercises. I can talk to you later on about those. I did what I call a rep. So it's a rapid, effective preparation, very quick technique for getting yourself in the zone very, very quickly. Did some exercise as well to get my stress levels down, to keep the base stress levels down. I went off and did the interview. Now, I didn't get the job, which was fine actually, as it turned out. And at the same time, I was really happy with how my performance went at the interview, if you like. Got some really nice feedback. The rest was out of my control. Somebody who had more direct experience in that domain was taken for the role. I actually know who she is, which made it easier. So it was one of those moments where, starting from a really tough position and feeling inside, like being very unstable inside, if you want, because of what was going on, and then using certain techniques to actually just get into the zone, go forward. And it's almost like, to be quite honest, it's almost like being in the interview and one part of your brain stands back. It feels like this conscious part of my brain is standing back saying, how the hell are you doing this? You're just completely destabilized after everything that was happening at the time. And how are you doing this? And it's basically like the subconscious acting on autopilot, just carrying me through it. So that's what some of those exercises do, is it's programming somehow your subconscious or your autopilot, so it will bring you through it. And even if on a conscious level, you're feeling the stress, the autopilot is bringing you through. I had another interesting example of something recently where I needed as well to step up, if you want. End of last year, I was hospitalized for 3 weeks with COVID. And something you don't know about me is that me and needles or blood tests especially, we don't get on, right? We don't get on at all. So I must have had like 25, 30 needles stuck into me between, anti-clotting injections into the stomach every day, blood tests, the drip, needles, etc. Anyways, being transferred from one hospital to another. And 2 days before the doctor was talking to me, the nurse came over to give me my daily injection into the stomach. And the doctor was like, look, she'll come back tomorrow and she'll show you how to do it. I'm like, show me how to do what? Yeah, she'll show you how to give herself an injection into the stomach. And I thought, look, you don't know me, right? I really do not like needles. I don't even look. I turn my head, I might put some music on at the same time. I said, look, I'll get a nurse and she'll come over every day. So long story short, that nurse came back the next day. She was showing me what to do. Fine. I said, look, I'll just get a house nurse. You can come and see me. And the last day, it was the last day before they were letting me go. Nurse came back one last time. I said, look, I really need you to know, I really need to be sure that you know how to do this, right? But before she came in, I was sitting in the hospital bed and I was saying to myself, really? You just wrote a book called Yes, You Freakin' Can, and you can't give yourself an injection into the belly? Really? So I sat there, did some breath work, did my usual visualization. And to make it more real, I took a pen from the locker, pretended I was the injection, and was like doing this in my stomach, right? Sounds completely ridiculous if you're okay with needles. But the nurse came in to show me one last time, and I said, look, just give me the needle, I'll do it myself. Not believing those words would ever come out of my mouth, right? So I took the needle, gave myself the injection, gave her back the needle and went, yes. And she's looking at me like, what's up? And I said, look, for a lot of people, for most people, that's not a big deal. For me, it was a big challenge. And I'm saying that because it's something it's a context that I had not used visualization in previously. So even for me, it was like new territory, new ground, if you want. And the same as always, in most circumstances, most of the time I find it works. It's not a magic formula. It doesn't necessarily work 100%, but it does help you up your game and be better than you thought you could be, or maybe be better than what you were in the past, as an example.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you for unpacking that as well, and thank you for your story. Some of the notes I had first that you had. So basically, you had an inner storm, but you had an outer calm, and how you stating that was mental prep, state change, and visualization, which is basically controlling your performance. So I think what you tapped into was, hang on a second, I'm off balance right now. How do I get back into balance? And these techniques are used to get into balance is what we call performance control, and which led you into other things as well. So I want to go into some of the questions I've got for you and talk to me about how you can be better than you thought possible when you most need to be. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Sure. I think we go into a lot of events with some negative self-talk. And first, especially if it's an event that's outside of your comfort zone. So for me, the first thing, if it's something really important, is to get your base stress level down. And what works really well for that is the morning of the event, work out, do some yoga, go to the gym, go for a run, do something that will physically, burn off some stress hormones, have your base stress level starting point for your event be lower than what it normally would be. That's kind of the first thing. The second thing I would do is a 5 to 10 minute visualization. Just see yourself at the event. It's going the way you want it to go. You can't control other factors, how other people are going to behave, but you can at least put in those positive images, positive movie, if you want, into your mind and seeing it go the way you want it to go. And it's almost like a dream where your brain is not sure, did that really happen or not? And if your brain believes you've already done it that way, then that helps bring your stress levels down. And there's more of a chance of you performing that way because you're almost giving it a target behavior to lock onto. And the chance of then showing up in the same way are much higher. Another thing, depending on the event, is you can use some positive affirmations as well, just to drown out some of the negative noise in your mind, saying you can't do this, or you're not good enough for that, or whatever negative story you're telling yourself. So tell yourself something positive, like, I really enjoy first dates. If it's your first date, I'm really relaxed, I'm really comfortable. Whereas your brain may be saying, oh, you're going to be tense, you're going to mess it up, you won't be able to be yourself because you'll be too stressed, etc. So giving your brain something positive to listen to, that can help. And then just before the event, doing what I call rep that I mentioned earlier on, which is just an easy way of remembering a rapid, effective preparation. And I think in the book I mentioned getting in the zone in less than 2 minutes. Okay. So it's really telling your brain right now how you want to show up. So as an example, you figure out what's the outcome you're looking for from this event, right? Okay, that's your target. And then the next question is, okay, how do I need to be in order to maximize the chances of achieving that outcome? And then one by one, I usually have 3 or 4. Then one by one, and I literally do list 1, 2, 3, for example. You tell yourself that, not that, for example, you will be this way. You will be relaxed. You will be confident. You will listen to understand. You will think before you speak, or whatever it is. If you're telling yourself you will, that's in the future. For your brain, that's not so important. What's important for your brain is right now, what's going on right now. So it's about telling yourself, I am, so I listen to understand. I don't know, I take my time before I speak, and whatever it is for you, I smile, whatever. And maybe the last point on that is, it's not a case of just saying the words, okay? Because our brain works more with images than with words, especially the subconscious. So each time, instead of saying, okay, I smile, I do this, see yourself be that way each time, just for a second. I listen to understand. If I say I listen to understand, I often do it with my eyes closed. And I'm seeing myself, preferably in a similar context, but it doesn't have to be. I see myself in a situation where I'm being a really great listener, right? So my brain is locking onto that way of being. And then next one, and then you go. So it's like, okay, I'm this, done, out. And off you go. And it's amazing how it can help you to show up that way. Okay, so these are some techniques that you can use to actually show up, like I said, either better than you have in the past, or better than you thought you were possible of being or possible of doing. Okay, like the example with the injection I gave you a while ago. Okay, I never thought I would be capable of doing this. Sounds ridiculous, but it was like a phobia for me. And the only way I could do it is to get my mind into that zone, have my brain relax, and almost enjoy the experience. Whereas previously, there's not a hope. I don't even think I could have held a needle in my hand.
Yeah. Some of the notes I took, and thank you for the story. A lot of people are afraid of needles and just phobias of those too, but those small things to overcome. So some of the notes I got from what you were saying, that the brain doesn't respond to words; it uses images, which is obviously great because it's not in the future. It's no will. It's right now. So we have to start affirming things. I like how you said the things that we can control and the things that are free as well. You can control your visualization. So you can control what you think about. You can control your breath. Okay. So going into breath work, which is free. I think this is going to be a new phenomenon. A lot of people are picking up. I've got a lot of friends that are into the breath work, and not just the Wim Hof stuff, but getting in control of your breath, which is great, which controls stress. And then affirmations. What do you tell yourself to? I think that's super important as well. So a lot of great stuff you've said so far. And then the whole rep thing. So rapid, effective preparation, getting into state. And then one of the things that really encapsulates it for me was stop taking a chance on what your state is going to be and start controlling what your state is going to be. They say if you own the mornings, you own the day. Well, really, if you can control your state and not leave it to chance, meaning put the alarm clock on instead of waking up at a random time. Prepare your meals instead of eating what's just in the fridge, meaning start controlling how you think, how you feel, which you control the day too. But look, the other question I want to go through, life has a habit of throwing challenges our way, and, it tests us, our resilience, especially the last couple of years with COVID, and our ability to bounce back strong after being knocked down. How can someone build inner strength and be positive when they don't foresee a positive future?
A few things. Something I call finding a diamond in the mud is one. That means you have a storm going on around you. Somehow you're sitting in the mud or kneeling in the mud, and rain is pouring down on you. It's even hard to lift your head up because you just don't feel the strength to do it. If you look for it, you can often, most often, let's say, I avoid saying always, but most often, find something sparkling in the mud right in front of your eyes, even if you're not lifting your head up, right? And that can be anything. That's why I call it diamond in the mud. You have to look for it. So it's really finding something beautiful in the middle of the storm. And that can be anything. It can be a smile from your child, you know. It can be, I don't know, somebody lets you cross the road. They were kind enough to stop and let you cross the road. Might be a kind word from a friend. It's something that's positive. And just being grateful for small moments. So I find it's one of the quickest ways of flipping your mindset is just finding those diamonds in the mud. Okay. And that can give you the strength if you want to get back up on your feet and to keep advancing. Often, I've heard it that, look, if you're really, really in that storm, it may be hard to find out, okay, well, I don't see anything that's going right. Okay, fine, I got it. Now tell me one thing. In the same city as you, there's somebody in a lot worse place than where you are, okay? Maybe they're homeless, for example. How about asking yourself, if you were them, what would you be grateful for about your life right now? So seeing it from that other perspective, and there's always somebody worse off than what you are. When I was in the hospital with COVID, I was sharing a room with a gentleman. I didn't know it initially because I was in a pretty bad state physically. But as my condition improved, I learned that he was homeless, firstly. And secondly, he had no legs from the knees down. And he was lying there, being so accepting of his situation, being so calm. He wasn't demanding of the nurses or anything. And I could only look and admire and kind of take an example from how he was. So, and then that got me out of, as well, any moment where I started feeling sorry for myself being in that situation. I had something to look forward to when I got out of there. He didn't have very much to look forward to. Right? So, seeing it from another person's perspective can be one way. So to answer your question again in another way, flip it. So me asking myself in the hospital, why did this happen to me? Okay, I was healthy, I was in good shape. Usually don't get the flu or a cold, but I was hit bad in my lungs by COVID. And asking myself that question was a very disempowering question. Like, why me? So it's flipping it around somehow. Now, it may take some time. It may take a few minutes, hours. It might take a night of watching Netflix with a few glasses of wine, and then next day flipping it. But asking yourself a better question, how can I use this time in the best way possible? Or what can I learn from it? Or what's positive about this? And when I was asking myself those kinds of questions, it got my mind to focus on more empowering answers. So what's positive about it? For example, one thing for me was it got me to calm down, it got me to become more grateful, more accepting of things outside of my control or whatever. And it helped to flip my mindset into a better place. So instead of asking myself this question where I started to feel sorry for myself and the situation I was in, it just almost got rid of that negative thought pattern and put me into a better place. So there are two things very quickly, Michael. Find the diamond in the mud and flip it to a better question. Another question can be, for example, if this happened to my best friend, what would I advise them? What kind of questions would I ask them? Because we often give our friends really great advice or ask them questions that are very powerful. And when it comes to ourselves, we're much more critical and we're not so nice or kind to ourselves. So flipping it that way, saying, okay, if that was my best buddy, best friend, what would I ask them? What would I tell them? What would I advise them? And then take the same answers, take those same responses and apply them to yourself. That's another way of flipping it around.
Yeah, some of the notes I got from that was seeking beauty in the everyday life and just the small things. And I think it encapsulates to controlling your attention. Controlling your attention is, okay, what can I focus on? And what you focus on grows. So yeah, thank you for explaining that. And I think, again, that's something free. Everyone can do it. Everyone can wake up every day. And if you go through the day and if you try to find, one or two small, beautiful things in the day, you are going to find it because you are seeking for it. But we spend so much time in our heads and thinking about the treadmill we're on and the loops that we run. We never step outside of those loops in our head and think about the beautiful things in life. Speaking of beautiful things, in the book you talk about how do you enjoy more romantic encounters. Can you talk to me a little bit about romantic encounters?
Yeah, again, it's something that not everybody is comfortable with. First date, first night together. Maybe it's more of a guy thing than a girl thing, possibly. I've had people come to me with that when they open up and say, well, first date nerves. Physically, we're driven from here. And if here we're really stressed for whatever reason, things don't always go as well as what we hoped, let's say. So in the same way, that you can use visualization for, pre-sport competition, before a job interview. You can also use it for romantic encounters, for example, to get yourself in a state where you're relaxed, you're fine being yourself, and even seeing the moment go the way you want it to go. I don't know if it's ever happened to you, Michael, right? But, there are sometimes you're with your date or your girlfriend or whatever it is, and you're not in that space, right? You're not in like a sexual mood, if you want. And how do you flip it, okay? And come out of that stress mode and have the evening go the way you want it to go. Literally take 5 minutes on your way home, pull your car over someplace. Could be I don't know. You may be picking up a bottle of wine on the way home or something like this, or sit in the car park. Sit there and close your eyes and literally see the evening go exactly how you want it to go. And when I say evening, I'm really focusing on the intimate part of the evening, let's say. And again, it's the same thing. It's kind of going into your subconscious. And even if you think, you know what, no, I'm just not in the mood, for example, it will help you flip it, and at least have you come very close to the kind of movie that you had in your mind. Of course, being respectful of whoever you're with, of course. So again, you can use it for any occasion, including this, and yes. Not sure what your reaction to that is, but
No. It totally makes sense, and I think we all need to sort of flip the switch sometimes. If, especially in romantic encounters, we have to sort of get in the mood, and it's another way of controlling that as well. But yeah, going forward, talk to me a little bit about what is the 3-letter word that can change what you believe you're capable of. That 3-letter word, what is it?
So it's not yes. Yes is a really good word. It's a very powerful 3-letter word as well. So this is the other word starting with Y, and it's yet. So tell me something, for example, that you cannot do. You like to do it, but you cannot do it.
Sleep more.
Sleep more.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you tell yourself in your mind right now, that you cannot sleep, give me what's more. It's like 6 hours, 7 hours.
Oh, probably 8 hours. Yeah, just to get another hour in, I guess. Averaging 7 at the moment.
All right. So let's say 8 hours, right? So you cannot sleep 8 hours, right? Okay. Now, if you tell yourself this, feel how it feels inside for a moment. Okay. Now, all I want you to do is add on that word yet. I cannot sleep 8 hours yet, or I cannot yet sleep 8 hours. Now say that to yourself, feel how that feels inside, and tell me what difference does that evoke in you?
Yeah, I understand what you're doing. You're changing the yet from yes, and it's changing how I feel and think. Is that correct?
It's how I describe it is, so let's say somebody who says, look, I have 2 left feet, I can't dance. Door is closed. Okay. I've done this with people in different situations. And now just by adding that one word, I can't dance well yet.
Yet. Yeah.
It gives this ray of hope, this ray of light. And I kind of describe it as well as, if you say you can't dance well, the door is closed, right? If you say you can't dance well yet, it feels like not the door is not open, but it's open enough. It's like enough to get your foot in the door if you want, right? So it's not completely closed. There's still a possibility of you swinging it open. Now we just have to find how. Whereas, when you tell yourself you cannot dance well, full stop, that door is shut. Okay. So that's really it. It's, again, it feels lighter, and it just opens up the possibility in your brain saying, yeah, I can't do it yet. Yet. All I have to do is find the right strategy and I'll get there. Whereas before, if you thought it wasn't possible, you're not going to look for the strategy because you didn't think it was possible. Makes sense?
Yeah, makes sense. I thought you said yes, so that's why I was a little bit confused. But yeah,
no,
that
sorry,
3-letter. Yeah, no apologies. That's where I was a little bit confused. But yeah, yet it's what it means is future. So yet means possibility of the future, because we know I'm not rich enough yet. I'm not in shape enough yet. I don't have a loving partner yet. I don't have the job I want yet. And we can give 100 different scenarios of yet. But if we reverse engineer what was in the past, where you are now was your past yet, which is the future now. So that just gives space of that there is space, there is space, there is time, because we're all growing. I mean, we're a human being, and we're being into growth, however you want to cut that up. So yeah.
You know what that reminds me of? It's like, what have you achieved in your life that at one point in time you thought that wasn't possible for you?
That's right.
But you did it, or you became it, right? But at one point in time, you still had that belief it wasn't possible. So if you became things that you didn't think was possible at one point in time, what do you think right now is not possible for you that you would like to do or become? And what's the message you get from your past? If you did something up until now that you thought at one point wasn't possible, why can you not do in the near future something that you think right now isn't possible? is you just have to figure out how to release that part of you, how to release that potential and get over here. Because as you said, we're continuously growing, right? We can grow in a way that's more accelerated, or we can grow in a way that's, pretty walking pace, let's say.
Yeah, that's right. You should have changed the book title from Yes, You Freaking Can to Yet. Yes, You Freaking Can. No, but that's good. Tell me,
I'm sorry,
tell us a little bit about, sorry, go on, go ahead.
Good. No, I
go
almost
ahead.
called it something different. Initially, when having had experienced all of those techniques myself and figured out, what they're capable of achieving and coached people through it, my initial title was This Shit Works, but I thought, no, maybe I shouldn't. So I changed the name. But, it really does. Most of the techniques in there, I've tried and tested them myself, experimented with them, broke them down, give it as a how-to as opposed to just what to do, and experimented with them with others as well. So,
yeah, perfect. So I think you answered the question of how did you decide it was the right time to write the book? But what is your biggest wish with the book?
The book is that it'll help as many people as possible become better than what they believed possible when they most need it. That's really it. I spoke to you about the COVID example.
Yeah.
That was touch and go for about a week in hospital. I had another accident, life-threatening accident in 2019. And after that accident in 2019, and I realized, look, I'm still here. And I just was convinced that I'm still here for a reason. And one of the reasons I'm still here is to help people somehow. And my deduction was by putting this on paper and bringing people and teams through live workshops doing the same thing, it's helping them in some way just release that potential when they most want to for something that's really key for them, that's really important for them. Yeah. And for me, that's part of, I believe, my life's purpose going forward.
Well, tell us a story about your near-death experience in the hotel where you woke up in the middle of the night and thought you were thirsty and had a drink of water from a bottle, but it was not water, and in that bottle it was poison. Tell us what happened, how it unfolded.
Yeah, sure. It was 2019. That was the accident in question. I already had just come off my bike a few days beforehand, so I had both arms in the cast, which was a lot of fun. Or not.
Don't ride your bike on the tram tracks. Don't ride your bike on the tram tracks. Is that correct?
Don't ride your bike on the tram tracks. There you go. Exactly. Yeah. The wheel drops down in between the tram tracks and you do Superman over the handlebars. So we canceled our vacation to the coast because obviously couldn't get near water with those arm casts. And you're right. It was in Paris at 4:00 in the morning. The cleaning lady had put a cleaning fluid into a new avian water bottle, left it on the locker by the bed. 4:00 in the morning, I was thirsty, drank from it, realized it wasn't water. Panic stations. Also, if you ever do that by accident, do not drink water on top of it because it can be dangerous. And I really did not know if that was the end. Long story short, I spent 10 hours in accident and emergency in Paris hospital at 4:00 on the Saturday morning. Had internal burns for about 4 weeks. Was really lucky it didn't burn through the esophagus. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking to you today. And what I did realize at that point was what's important in life. And where my brain went at that moment, I remember I was standing just inside the door of the hotel room. My girlfriend at the time was on the hotline to the anti-poison. There's an anti-poison hotline, explaining what happened, and they were trying to figure out what the product was. And in my brain, I was just thinking about my daughters, saying, did I spend enough memorable moments with them? For example, let them have real nice memories. Did I give them the right, let's say right, if you want, in inverted commas, messages about life, about what's important, about what I found was very useful for me to get through certain things or to be better than what I was. And that's why, in part, at least, in large part, why I went back to write the book right afterwards. But it did teach me one thing, that, at least in my case, when your day comes, I wasn't thinking about, did I spend enough hours in the office? Did I buy that Audi, whatever that I wanted to buy? None of that was important. What was important was kind of the legacy, if you want, that I was leaving behind. And for people that mattered most for me in my life. And that was a big lesson. That was a big lesson going forward around how to spend my time and what's most important.
Yeah, I think those life-changing moments, they come out of nowhere, and then you really reflect on what is important, and that changes the focus on after that event transpired. And obviously you're here now and you survive that near-death experience, that it realigns what our top values are in life and what is most important and what maybe is not so important as well. And I've got 2 kids myself. I've got a son and a daughter myself, so I can only imagine that would be the thoughts running through my mind in those experiences as well. So thank you for sharing that and unpacking too. And I know we don't have a lot of time left, but I want to jump into one question I've got for you. So in chapter 15, I read on making a difference, you suggest be the one. What do you mean by that, be the one?
I grew up in Ireland, like I said, very conservative at the time. Nobody would speak about their emotions, especially not guys. And I remember at the time I used to go to mass and confession in Catholic church. And I remember in the confession box one day, the priest asked me, do you love your parents? I said, yes. I thought it was a strange question, firstly. And he said, did you ever, go home, throw your arms around your mom and tell her you loved her? I'm like, are you crazy? I was maybe 15, 16 at the time. And like I said, at that time, people didn't express their emotions that way. So he asked me to do it, and he planted a seed. Long story short, it took me a couple of weeks. I finally did it. It was playing in my mind. Nobody up until then, nobody in our family, apart from my parents to each other, told anybody else in the family that they loved them, right? Now I'm the eldest of our 4 siblings. And so I did it. I remember my mom, she was in the kitchen at the time, and she was pleasantly surprised. Surprised, yes, but I think in a positive way. And she told me that she loved me back. And that started something in the family, and it's been going on for years. We talk about company cultures, organization cultures take a long time to change. And I found, family cultures can as well. I think it was maybe 1 or 2 years ago, when I won't say who it concerned in the family, but 2 members of my family, they were the last that didn't tell each other that they loved each other, for example. And they did. So it took all of that time. It took like more than 20 years for everybody to have enough courage and vulnerability to open up to the others, right? And when I say be the one, I mean, life is very short, especially in these moments where, we're coming out the back end of COVID. Now Putin is maybe starting a war, who knows? We just don't know what's going to happen, right? And when it's too late, it's too late. Like I said, I've experienced it twice. Our parents get older, people pass on, etc. And I find it really a pity where you can be at a funeral. And what happens at a funeral? People are saying really beautiful things about the person who just passed away. That's generally what people are talking about, which is really nice. It's really great, but it's too late. The words are gone in the wind. They're gone with the wind. So it's really about, so being the one is about having the courage and being okay with being vulnerable with it, and telling somebody, not just that you love them. That was the example I gave. Go deeper with it, because I love you actually can become a habit. It's nice to hear it, but have you ever wondered what somebody loves about you? And they're probably wondering the same thing, what do you love about them? So bring it to the next level and telling them, what do you love about them? What do you like about them? What do you appreciate about them? And giving them that gift of having that beautiful moment and beautiful memory in whatever way you want. It can be in writing if you prefer, or, face to face or over telephone. I remember doing that for a friend going back a couple of years ago. It was a friend since, I don't know, maybe 30 years or so. And after we had a conversation, it was on the phone, and he said, "Listen, could you send me that in writing? I'd like to remember what you said and keep it as a souvenir." So that's really what it's about, just be the one, make the change, go deeper, tell people how you really feel about how you find them, all the things you like about them, and the impact they've had on you, or the impact you see that they've had on other people. Now, it may be tempting to tell them something that really bothers you as well, right? But it's not the moment for it. It's not the moment to go into that space. It's just really creating a beautiful moment.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. And what I got from Be the One is not just from courage and vulnerability, but vulnerability is saying something and not knowing what the result is going to be, putting yourself out there in the unknown, because we all strive for the known. So we don't spend a lot of time in that unknown, and telling someone you love them and then pausing and waiting for their reaction. I mean, that's vulnerability. And yeah, so thank you for sharing that. Where can people find the book? We're running out of time, so for them to read it. I've read the book. It's a fantastic book. Where can people best find it? Is on Amazon, or do you want people to go to your website to buy it? Trevor, what's the best place?
Amazon as well. I would send them to trevorlynch.net. So trevorlynch.net. And you'll find my details there. You'll find some details about the book there. And I'd love to hear from you, or find me on social media.
What's the social media platform that you're on the most? Is it Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube?
To be honest, it's more LinkedIn. It's more LinkedIn. But if for anybody who's not on LinkedIn, you could find me on Facebook or Instagram. Yeah. I think it's Trevor Lynch author, but you'll find the links on the site, trevorlynch.net. They're all there.
Done. And hold the book up again. I'll just give a quick read. So, Yes, You Freakin' Can. What's the color of the cover? Let's have a look. Yeah, nice, beautiful. So, to my audience, if you like this conversation and want to learn more, follow Trevor on LinkedIn, check out his book, Yes, You Freakin' Can. Drop him a message, come say hello. He's a human, he's real, as we all are. So, thank you for sharing these wonderful messages, and hope you enjoy the rest of your day, Trevor. And thanks for being a great guest on the Best Book Bits podcast. And we'll speak to you soon.
Thanks, Michael. I hope so.
All right,
Bye-bye.
No problem at all.